The moment you stopped caring, the moment your energy detached, the circus caught fire. And suddenly, the clowns started calling you evil. Let that sink in, because here's what most people can't handle. The biggest threat to a narcissist isn't confrontation. It's your indifference. Not your rage, not your receipts, not even your healing. Just your silence, your peace. Your refusal to beg for the same table they once pushed you away from. Fact: research indicates that ignoring narcissists causes real neurological suffering. It registers in their minds as bodily agony. Imagine what would happen if someone like you, the chosen one, the 0.1%, not only ignored them, but flourished in their presence. To them, it is spiritual humiliation, rather than just rejection. You see, you're out of their emotional sphere when you're operating with 0 Fs given. You're in a galaxy far away. One in which manipulation sounds like childish tantrums, triangulation is ineffective, and gaslighting is ineffective. The story twist is that until the puppet slipped the strings and created a terrible empire, they believed they were the puppeteer. This video delves deeply into the reasons why narcissists are psychologically destroyed by your sheer presence, rather than what you do that sets them off. Prepare yourself, for you will not only comprehend it, but also take ownership of it. 1. Your supply chain is starved of emotional independence. The same way a phone needs on a charger, narcissists rely on emotional responses. They require your attention to operate, not simply to get it. Whatever emotional energy you offer them, whether it is gratitude, indignation, perplexity, or suffering, becomes their source. They survive that way. However, it's like turning off the electricity to their whole system when you reach that uncommon degree of detachment, when you really don't care anymore. They begin to malfunction. You're not being difficult to get. You aren't acting. You don't give a damn. And that is psychological hunger to them. You see, most people still do something for the narcissist, whether it's protecting their reputation, responding to the falsehoods, or explaining themselves. However, you don't provide an explanation when you stand on 0 Fs. You don't quarrel. You don't explain or provide evidence. Go enjoy your life after cutting the connection. A narcissist finds that degree of emotional independence frightening because it indicates that you have turned into something they cannot control, unavailable. They are unable to entice you to respond. You can't be coerced into remaining. You can't be lured back into the pattern by them. They begin hurling everything at you, including flying monkeys, smear campaigns, threats, and love bombs. Because they're going insane because you're not responding. Why? Since you aren't just ignoring them, you're demonstrating that they were never very powerful in the first place. They constantly used transient, borrowed control that depended on your desire to cooperate. You don't even need to speak when you separate in that way. Your quiet is loaded, not empty. It conveys everything they don't want to hear, that you've moved on from them, that you can see right through them, and that they don't matter. And that's the one reality their ego finds incomprehensible. You turn into an unbreakable mirror, an unhittable target, and an unstoppable cause of suffering. All because you ultimately made the decision to cease giving the monster food. And that's what pushes them over the brink more than anything else. 2. They can't win the psychological war because you can't be blackmailed. Narcissists like gathering secrets because they can use them to manipulate you, not because they are interested in you. They keep every admission, error, and vulnerable moment in a vault like weapons, ready to be used when the time is perfect. However, you immediately become a danger they can't withstand after you've conquered your own demons and are no longer vulnerable to humiliation from your past. Before they can even use their favorite weapon, you take it away. You become untouchable in this way. Write Amen to feel the peace of the angels and show your support with a super thank you up to $20. Narcissists manipulate emotions in a similar way. They exert power over others by affecting their self-perception. They have the power to influence your decisions, ideas, and even identity if they can make you feel uneasy, uncertain, or undeserving. However, you break the ties when you don't care whether someone applauds or criticizes you. You remove their power. They and no one else are the ones who tell you who you are. You made up your mind already. And that kind of self-confidence sends them into disarray. They'll put it to the test. They will attempt to undermine your self-esteem, cast doubt on your intentions, minimize your value, or make you feel inconspicuous. However, because you're not relying on their comments, none of it sticks. On your own truth, you stand. You've seen your triumph. You are aware of your survival. You have more faith in your own voice than in their cacophony. You are thus impervious to their tricks. You're not dressed to attract notice. Applause doesn't speak for you. You don't ask permission to relocate. A narcissist who requires regular access to your head would see your unwavering self-control as a stone block. Since there is no entrance to enter, they are unable to break you. Your brilliance doesn't need a cosigner. You have already given your approval. They are consumed by it. Ignorance does not cause you to break down. When you get compliments, you don't exaggerate. You remain steady, grounded, and level. Additionally, it is uncommon and dangerous to be able to stand tall on your own in a society full of individuals who are desperate for praise from others. They are unable to manage you because of this, because you become something they will never be, free, the instant you stopped craving approval. 5. Their chaos seems provoked by your calm. You're not getting louder. No one is being called out by you. You aren't even speaking to them. They continue to feel stimulated. The irony is in that. For someone who feeds on disorder, your calm, which ought to be neutral or even consoling, feels like a direct threat. Without commotion, drama, or stress, narcissists are unable to operate. Therefore, people don't see calmness when you arrive composed, grounded, and totally unconcerned. They observe exposure. They are forced to confront what they have been avoiding because of you. In contrast to your inner calm, their chaotic, unresolved, and chaotic inner environment becomes intolerable. You are similar to a mirror that does not reflect their desired image, and they attempt to disturb your tranquility since they are unable to do so. To pull you back into the pandemonium that gives them a sense of power, they will prod, agitate, gossip, and lie. However, it is ineffective. You don't respond. You don't provide an explanation. They become angry when you don't match their frequency. The underlying reality is that narcissists confuse power with control. They thus feel helpless when they are unable to manipulate you and even elicit a response. And they blame you for it rather than staying with that anguish. To others, your tranquility seems like a punishment. That's the crazy part of it. Even if all you're doing is being yourself. They're projecting. You're not provocating. Clarity seems like an assault to someone who lives in emotional turmoil. Your self-assurance seems like conceit while they're in survival mode. Your self-containment seems like rejection when their identity is dependent on how other people react. You're not doing them any damage. You're making them public. They're unraveling behind the scenes because they know they can't shake you, fake you, or reinvent you, while you're simply going about your business, meditating, leveling up, or sipping water and keeping out of the way. They act as if you are stable and entire, but you are neither, and you never will be. 6. In their world, setting boundaries without expressing regret is rebellion. Setting boundaries is more than simply making a kind request. It's a declaration of respect for oneself. You also don't urge anybody to respect it. It's not something you repeat a dozen times. To make it more appetizing, you don't dilute it. You mean it when you say it once. Because their whole approach hinges on access, narcissists get alarmed by such clarity. Access to your feelings, your space, your forgiveness, your time, and your energy. For someone who thrives on crossing emotional boundaries, cutting off that access with a firm, unrepentant barrier sends a deadly message. You're no longer in control here. Instead of no. Narcissists test others subtly, initially pushing boundaries to see whether you would recoil. Most individuals ultimately give up due to misunderstanding, fear, or guilt. You don't flinch, however. You can maintain your boundaries without anybody else agreeing with them. And because they are now dealing with more than just a human, it causes them to engage in mental combat. They are up against an impenetrable opponent. Boundaries seem like betrayal in their world, but that's what sets you apart. How dare you have the audacity to protect your peace? How dare you not make room for their dysfunction? You owe them nothing for being transparent. You've learned that love without limits isn't love. Therefore, you don't allow guilt control your yes. Self-abandonment, that is. And your self-desertion is complete. You now turn away when they attempt to guilt-trip you. You remain mute when they attempt to influence you. Because your emotional doors don't open simply because someone knocks with mayhem. You don't answer when they pretend it's an emergency to get you back in. You're not mean. You're clear. You're not resentful. You're confined. And that's more than simply rejection to a narcissist. Resistance is that. Rebellion is that. War is that. Because, to them, the worst transgression of all is your reluctance to submit. 7. They detest you the most because you reflect their helplessness. Love is not what narcissists want. They want authority. Additionally, their sense of control disintegrates when you just remain in your own energy and cease responding, pursuing, and explaining. They never had power in the first place, not because you took anything away from them. You were only complying. However, the moment you stop providing emotional support, the whole performance collapses. What frightens them is that you didn't engage in combat. They weren't exposed by you. You just didn't want to be involved. You forced them to confront a reality they had been avoiding their whole lives. They are nothing without your attention. False superiority, manipulation, and performance are the foundations of their whole identity. They tell themselves that they are in charge of the puppet show. However, it becomes evident how weak they really are when you stop dancing and offer them nothing to manipulate, agitate, or feed on. Their weapons suddenly stop working. The guilt trips pass. The gaslighting is ineffective. The charm becomes dull. Their inability to tolerate being average, much alone helpless, causes them to panic. The fact that you spared them is what truly enrages them. They did. They stopped using their techniques because you changed, not because you attacked. From responding to watching, you advanced. From enjoying your quiet to wanting their approval. From being emotionally accessible to being impenetrable in terms of energy. And in that silence, you turned into their greatest nightmare. Someone who can see them plainly but doesn't react. They're not being punished by you. You've just finished being tricked. Furthermore, that silent departure and that reluctance to participate scream louder than any possible retaliation. It's not mean, it's lucidity. And nothing is more destructive to a narcissist who thrives on delusion than someone who doesn't see them as strong. They weren't made fun of by you. They were never powerful in the first place, as you just revealed. 8. The fact that you are economically and energetically free means that you cannot be purchased, guilt-tripped, or gassed. Money, guilt, and confusion are the three primary strategies used by narcissists to manipulate others. Their holy trinity is that they will attempt to coerce you into complying if they are unable to purchase your allegiance. They will distort your perception of reality till you lose faith in yourself if that doesn't work. They flourish in that cycle. Most individuals get imprisoned because they doubt their reality, desire the aid, or dread the embarrassment. However, you ended that cycle. Their favors are not necessary for you. Guilt, does not govern you. Additionally, your reality is set in stone. You become immune as a result. And they go crazy because of it. They will give you things with unspoken conditions, such as a present here, a favor there, or even an unexpected outpouring of generosity they have never shown before. However, you avoid the trap when you decline it or accept it without commitment. You let them know you're not easily bought. They also lose another weapon when they realize they can't guilt you either, can't make you feel awful for deciding to walk away, establishing boundaries, or choosing yourself, because they keep people tiny by making them feel guilty. However, you've already reconciled with those who let you down and never cared about you. The last tactic they use is gaslighting, word bending, history rewriting, and attempting to cast doubt on your own memories. However, they strike a wall when you maintain your composure, call things what they are, and believe your instincts no matter how strongly they contradict you. You're too sensible to deceive, too grounded to be shaken, and too lucid to be confused. At that point, the panic begins. You are more than simply emotionally aloof. You are monetarily and energetically independent. They are completely unnecessary to you. And for someone who bases their whole identity on being feared, required, or followed, it is very frightening. The game you're playing has changed, one in which your value cannot be compromised. Your truth isn't for sale, and neither is your energy. It's more than simply freedom. Power is that. Furthermore, narcissists cannot thrive in the presence of someone they cannot control. 9. You make free advertising out of their smear campaign. When narcissists start a smear campaign, they believe they are discrediting you and attempting to turn others against you. However, they are unaware that their efforts just pique people's interest. They anticipate that you will give in to the pressure, defend yourself, and respond in the way they are frantically attempting to get you to. However, that isn't the case with you. You get up, you ignore their clamor, and maintain your composure. And by doing this, you present the untruth as just what it is, a lie. The thing is this: they unintentionally bring more attention to you the more they disparage you. People dislike being misled or coerced, and people begin to ask questions after hearing one version of the event and seeing your cool, collected demeanor. They start looking into it in an effort to learn the truth, and the truth shouts louder than any of their charges ever could when they finally meet you and hear your side of the story. Your genuineness turns into a potent counterbalance to the story they've written. Although the narcissist believes they are ruining you, they are really providing you free exposure. They are attracting more attention to you each time they use your name negatively. It's as if they unknowingly gave you a stage and a microphone. You don't have to scream your message loud and clear. For you, they are doing it. Unknowingly, they have taken on the role of your public relations staff, putting in more effort to spread the word about you than any marketing campaign could. They go crazy about it. Although they believe they were destroying you, they have really strengthened your platform. People are recognizing you for who you really are, and they cannot take that back. All of their attempts to undermine you just serve to strengthen your position. And you're watching the whole thing as they spiral, wondering why their attacks aren't working, because you are, and always will be, more genuine than their falsehoods.